Well, hello there, motherfuckers, and it is time for another album review. This time, it's Arch Enemy War Eternal, and this goes without saying, this is a great album. This is also a landmark album for them for a number of reasons. Not only because of the quality, but a change in the lead singer, again. Now, it's not like they've had consistent changes. I mean, Arch Enemy has been going on since 1996. And they have now had 3 lead singers. I mean, they've had, there's been a lot of metal bands out there, whatever, type of metal it is. But, you come to think of a lot of bands that have changed their lead singer and still had some measure of success. But they have really persevered, and it shows that Arch Enemy is very resilient in the metal world. I mean, they managed to change their lead singer, which is pretty much the key component in any band, really. I mean, just think if Metallica didn't have James Hetfield, or Megadeth didn't have Dave Mustaine, Motorhead didn't have Lemmy. I mean, the band would pretty much fall apart. That vocal style is pretty much the support beam to those bands, to any band really for that matter. I mean, that is part of their sound. They might have a signature guitar tone, they might have a signature style to their riffs, they might have anything really going for them, but really, at the end of the day, it's really the one who delivers the lyrics that usually has the spotlight. I mean, a lot of times the lead guitarist might take the spotlight on a rare occasion, but really it's mostly the singer. And they have changed this singer just this year and still recorded an album. And they've gone through changes. And they started off with a male singer. Then for years they had Angela on lead vocals. Angela Gassau, and then they changed to Alyssa, who was actually the band's manager. And I don't really know how this came about, that the manager is actually that great of a lead vocalist, but she is. And for the most part, you can't even tell this is a female. I mean, she growls just as well as any man I've ever seen. And still the guitar work is just still fucking phenomenal. Same guitars going on here, and it's still fantastic. I mean, these riffs on this album are rip-roaring, and they really do feel like you're entering into a war zone. I mean, these are thrashy. This is melodic death metal, but it's very, very thrashy. I mean, it's the same thing with Children of Bodom. This is why I say, on this channel, when we label music and call this melodic death metal, what that is it's music with a lot of different elements. Death metal, technically, because there are some growls, although the growls are not as heavy as, say, Dying Fetus, for example. And, they're not as the riffs are not as crushing as Morbid Angel. But they're more thrashy, the riffs. And they might remind you of, of thrash bands at times. But, still the vocals are more melodic. The music has a more melodic tone to it than you could say. But, it's really, really hard to categorize music these days, because music has so many different elements. It's hard nowadays. You have death metal and there's deathcore. Well, at what point do you consider death metal to be just pure death metal and it to be deathcore? When does it really have that core element, that hardcore element? And sometimes it's hard to figure things out. How heavy something has to be to considered something. It's hard sometimes, based on some weird way we could somehow figure this out. But really, at the end of the day, it's really left up to opinion. I mean, really, what do you want to label? Because really, nowadays, the labels are jokes. It's just, this album is very, very impressive at how well it is, when really they've changed their lead singer right at the last minute. It's basically, from the story that I've read, is that she basically received a phone call and the offer to become the lead singer, and Alyssa's really taken the reins very well on this album. I mean, it didn't sound thrown together at all. This sounded like an album that was like 10 years in the works, with a magnificent payoff. I mean, really, where this album really starts to pick up steam is the title track, War Eternal, and then from that point on, I mean, you have just amazing riffs and songs like Avalanche, and there's just so many great songs on this album that really just live up to the title of War Eternal. I mean, you really feel like you're in a world full of war. This is a great album. Goes without saying that it gets a total recommendation. And Arch Enemy, just the whole entire band, gets a recommendation. I mean, this is a band that bounces back. I mean, really, just coming back with a totally new singer. Just out of fucking nowhere, and just completely just wows me. Definitely a great album. What a great, rich history of this band, just being so perseverant. That alone, it gives them points. So yeah, definite recommendation. All right.